Just 7 months ago, OpTic Gaming was on top of the Apex Legends world. Although they hadn't won, they had just finished a historic run that put them in prime position atop the list of challengers heading into year 4 of teams who could possibly end the TSM and Dark Zero dynasties. And the season started off fine, with a top 5 placement to begin the split, but then things took a turn and they struggled the rest of the way. The Season 20 changes only made their problems worse, and by the end of the split, not only had they missed out on LAN, but their org, OpTic Gaming, decided after years of being involved in Apex and being one of the recently added partner program orgs to leave the esport altogether. Welcome back to The Reset, where today we're going to explore what went wrong with OpTic Gaming and why they left the scene. If you enjoy ALGS content, make sure to subscribe to the channel and like the video. It helps out more than you know. Also, go follow me over on Twitter and Twitch. And if you want to see all of my videos ad-free, go check out my Patreon, links in the description. And so let's just jump straight into it with problem number 1. Since OpTic became a team, they have been dominant on Stormpoint until this split. It was bad. Like, so bad that for a majority of the split, they were a bottom 5 team in North America on the map. Their best game across the entire split on Stormpoint was 10 points. And by no surprise, they didn't place top 3 at all on the map. And when you do that bad, it's hard to truly boil it down to one specific thing. So let's cover a litany of issues that they faced on Stormpoint. First off, they had a similar comp issue mentioned in my exit video. Skittle, their frontliner, is playing Catalyst, a character that doesn't suit him, to allow Noct to play Conduit, so Skittle is not activated by his character to create openings and fights. You can see this really stand out in this game from day 3, where they're fighting Furia at this rock formation just north of Jurassic.
Crack that. Download me. Coming to you.
Shut on.
Nice. I'm with you.
They get the initial knock and thirst onto Madness, so now they're in a 3v2 scenario, but Keon and Watson are able to avoid them for way too long because they have no quick way of traversing the terrain and closing the gap.
Yeah, he's showing.
Looking. He's track.
I'm nading up.
You should climb.
Grab that swamp. He has some purple skills.
I'm throwing nades and throwing bird nades.
On the left, one drop left.
Hey, I'm not kidding.
I have my Q and 3. I'm gonna play slow.
Yeah, play slow. I hit them both.
Okay, I'm healing.
While this is happening, the zone is closing, forcing them to walk in on their edge, and instead of taking space early and figuring out what to do next, they're in an extended fight that is going to lead to their doom.
You're battling them.
I'm with you guys.
Careful of the tree
I don't see them.
I
got nuked after that.
Smoke. Batting.
I have no Q3. I have my ult back. Oh, they're in the zone.
Right.
I'm long our side.
Okay, good wall.
I'm moving up to you.
I think they're zone healing.
Right
Okay,
here.
in the water. Play slow.
Rise and crack.
We're in a good spot.
Rise and crack. Aping you crack. Give me knocked on. Oh, I got one into the zone.
It's not a team, bro. I'll knock for you.
The walls on the right to the left.
Had OpTic finished that fight earlier, they'd probably take on Sentinels in a straight 3v3. If they win that fight, they completely clear their side of the zone, and maybe they're the one who ends up being second place with a lot of KP, like Sentinels got, instead of ending 16th with only 1 KP. Since they couldn't take that space earlier, they had become reliant on bank smokes and Cat's wall to create that space for them, and with a poorly placed wall, it's GG. You can see both Skittle's inexperience on Catalyst and the ways that the comp is much slower at opening and finishing fights. This is an issue that they immediately rectify the next match day, dropping the Conduit, putting Noct on Catalyst, and then swapping Skittle onto Bloodhound. Then we have some other problems like comm issues or a bit of counter calling where plans are completely aborted, such as this game from day 3 where they're pulling off a simple rotate into Echo, and what should have been a very clean rotation into a very strong position turns into disaster real fast.
I'm going first. We're looking for the inside spot on the right.
I might die here.
Heal yourself.
I don't see. They're stuffing it. I'm just going low ground. They're stuffing it, guys.
Stuff. You're going low ground where? Right side? Okay.
Yeah, far right here. Far right.
There's a team there.
Far
There's
right.
a team there.
I'm just going around far right.
Bro, there was no one at that inside spot.
Bro, there was literally a guy standing right at the entrance. I saw him on my screen.
He was running away. He was not even playing it.
So while ballooning in, Skittle just seems to get a bit confused on the opposing team's locations and gives an unclear comm on the adjustment. This leads to Drop dying, and when we take a look at who that team was, it was Sentinels. RKN was actually alone. If OpTic triple lands on the height, they probably take it for free because either he stays there and dies, or more likely scenario, he jumps down to the low ground where his teammates currently are. If that happens, then OpTic is actually in a position where they could put major pressure on Sentinels from above and probably get at least 1, 2, if not all 3 KP onto Sentinels. Because of this mistake, they get forced into a bad spot and they end up dying in 20th, and Sentinels, the spot that they could have had, place 5th with 6 KP. But like I mentioned earlier, when you're a bottom 5 team on either map, there's a lot of issues, and the ones that I've shown so far are only a couple of them. We do have more, but they actually end up bleeding into our next problem, so let's jump straight into it with problem number 2. So as I mentioned, we did have some things that applied to both problem number 1 and problem number 2. And one of the big ones was in season 20, obviously we have the armor changes. It's a lot more difficult to get your armor up through damage, and you have to be using other methods such as scanning ring consoles, survey beacons, or hitting Evo caches in order to get your armor up efficiently. Well, OpTic just doesn't really adjust to this change much at all. We're seeing very early on that OpTic is completely skipping Evo caches on rotates, ones that are totally free, and they would be able to just hop out of a trident, grab it, and continue moving. And this does benefit them in the fact that they get to zone first, but then they're also taking spots that are good for the first few rings, but eventually these spots lack flexibility, and we see that they're sort of banking on the zone pulling to them, and when it doesn't, then they have pretty bad walk-ins and they die because, again, they don't have good armors. It's just poor macro. The season 20 changes necessitate stopping and grabbing these Evo caches. If you don't, you're going to be like OpTic sitting in zone with triple blues. But at least there was one good thing that came from season 20 right, and that was a meta shift. And this felt like it could have been the breath of fresh air that OpTic needed. The meta had shifted from Bang Cat Conduit to Bang Bloodhound Caustic. Bangalore was still incredibly strong. Catalyst, the previous meta character who could hit ring console, was heavily nerfed, while Caustic was buffed, so he naturally takes that place. And then Bloodhound was thrown into the mix because threats were basically gone from the meta entirely, as almost every relevant gun could no longer use them, and in a meta with Caustic Gas and Bang Smoke, it was just really difficult to see and fight, so Bloodhound solves that issue. Initially, this meta shift felt like it was a perfect one for OpTic. Dropped has been one of the best Bangalores in the world for a long time, so he continues playing her. And excitingly, Skittlecakes is considered one of the best, if not the best, Caustic of all time from his days pioneering the Gibby Caustic meta. Then you throw Noct on the Bloodhound and OpTic dominates, right? Well, it didn't exactly work that way. While the meta was still in flux, OpTic actually tried bringing back the Gibby Caustic comp on match day 6. And although Dropped initially felt good about it, they quickly turned course, deciding to abandon the Gibby because it just felt terrible fighting 16 or more other teams with Bloodhound and not having one yourself, especially with the Digithreat changes. Here's one quick example where you can see that not having a Bloodhound leads to their death.
Take the height on the right, maybe. Get above them.
They're fighting on the right!
Yeah, I'm coming.
We should get in there, get in there.
Okay, get in the building, get in the bottom building. Yes, I can
play
bubble
out.
it.
Oh, there's a full team.
Yeah, just fucking bubble towards it. Bubbling it. Why are you pushing that?
That team had flown in there quite a while ago, and I guess they just didn't really notice that they were there, but if they had a Bloodhound at some point, they probably would have picked him up on scan, and it would have prevented that push altogether. Of all the 3 characters that was going to be dropped, it wasn't going to be the Bangalore or the Caustic, so the Gibster had to go. Even if they stuck with the Gibby, the setup that they had wasn't going to work. As I just said, Dropped was the Gibby, Skittle was Caustic, Noct was Bang, but that led to some awkward moments where I truly believe if Dropped was the Bangalore, they would probably do a little bit better than they did. Here's one of the worst games I have ever seen that I think somewhat illustrates this point and just shows so many problems. So OpTic starts it down Beast, and we're getting a coastal camp pull. These are tough because they'd happened a lot in scrims recently, so teams know their macro pretty down pat for these kind of zones at this point. OpTic is going to take the Trident and rotate through the entire south side of the map to try and reach coastal, but on the rotate, things get scuffed early as crossing barometer, they get shot, which causes them to waste some heals, so they have to stall out. Then they get back in the Trident and they try to go past the coastal cave, but along the way, Xset being held up by Evolution in that same area starts to poke them, which wastes even more heals. Now we're going to balloon right below coastal itself, but on the balloon, they don't get far enough, which leads to this.
I don't see anything down here right now either.
Going right side of that. I have to go out further.
Yeah,
I went up
inside
further
here.
with you.
I'm bubbling towards this thing. I don't know what the fuck we're doing,
Popping
but
cells.
we're gonna fucking cross later.
They're gonna gatekeep the fuck out of us. We
Selling.
don't have ults.
You have OpTic cells?
No.
You just need to save both smokes and use both smokes to get up.
I
You
don't
can't-
see them. I don't see them peeking that right now. You want to try to run to the right?
You have smoke?
Yes, I have one.
I'm going. Okay, go. Yeah, peeking. No, back up.
I backed up.
Oh.
I'm rezzing.
You'll be alright. I got you.
Bubble right away.
Don't have it.
We got close sculpts on the right. I'm playing left.
I'm dead to fucking zone. I'm gonna have bubble next time you res me. You're gonna res me again.
I smoked the left.
Resing.
Res.
I don't think there's anything over here, bro.
Yeah, but it's hard to cross back now. You need to get a syringe.
I don't even know if I got this off.
I'm dropping you a syringe.
Okay, it's zone 1, so I think I did.
Spot.
Got it. Batting?
I have smoke in 5.
We just have to cross. I'm out of meds.
Cross.
I have a smoke.
No, we need it.
Ready?
I have meds. No, I don't. You need to smoke up here on this fucking blue crate, and you smoke this top right zip.
I don't have another smoke for 25. That's my only one.
Well,
I'm Phoenix hitting.
We're just fucked. I'm popping a Phoenix. Like
I
later.
think we need to run right and get out
Yes,
here.
we
That's
do.
the only
We
way.
need to go right.
I'm ready.
I'm Phoenixing. Wait.
Don't have a smoke for 15.
Yeah, but
Do you have
med
any
for
white
him?
meds
Any
still?
med?
I have
No.
one syringe.
Give him the wrench. Pop the wrench. I have bubble in 1.
Smoke in
Bangle
7.
to us. We gotta go off this bangle now. I'm bubbling towards it.
Play, I have a smoke for it. I'm batting.
I'm just going all the way right.
Smoke you. Yeah, it's just you. I'm dead here. One drop.
Yeah, they're dropping.
You just play your life. You're ratting this game.
I don't know if it actually matters in the end and if they survive from this thing, because Moist was able to poke them for free relatively easily for quite a while. But I do feel like if dropped was the Bangalore, that things might have gone a little bit smoother here. As we've talked about with some of the role issues so far, Noct, historically, he's the anchor player. He hasn't really been playing a character like a Bangalore, and he wasted a couple smokes. Specifically, there's one at the end here where dropped is trying to micro his smokes and telling him you have to have 2 and you got to place them in these spots. Before he even informs dropped that he only has 1, he shoots 1 off, and then they don't actually act on it.
Up here on this fucking blue crate, and you smoke this top right zip.
I don't have another smoke for 25. That's my only one.
Well,
I'm Phoenix hitting.
We're just fucked. I'm popping a Phoenix.
So that smoke is completely worthless, and then eventually they run out and they get beamed. So as dropped put it,
That was literal fucking cancer.
we move on to match day 7. They swap to the meta comp of Bang Blood Caustic with, as mentioned earlier, dropped Noct Skittle on each respective character. But this day was even worse, as OpTic actually has their worst match day of the split, finishing in 15th. So what the heck is going on? This comp was supposed to fit them perfectly, right? Well, we have a multitude of factors. First off, with the comp, Caustic fills a very different role than he did in the Gibby Caustic meta. Back then, he was a fragger who could aggressively push into opposing teams' buildings and bubbles. But now, with Bangalore Bloodhound in the mix, Caustic is an anchor sitting in the back. This is because Bang and Blood are just significantly better at frontlining, and in this current meta, in order to take fights, you basically just smoke off angles, let your Hound pop their ult, and they're kind of the only one that really gets to play the game. And Skittles, playing Caustic, is not an anchor player, as I mentioned at the beginning with him having to play Catalyst. So in the Season 19 meta, for at least a large chunk of it, he's playing a character that didn't fit him. And now, although it's a character he's historically really good at, in the current meta, he's once again playing a character that doesn't fit him. As Dropped would explain, Skittle is at his best when he's on the front lines.
You know, Skittle was not used to being like the anchor of the team and like being like kind of in the back line and like watching the back and shit. And so that's why we swapped him eventually off of Caustic, is because me and Skittle are better at like me and him making aggressive plays together and like calling shit together. Yeah. And there was definitely like a lapse in the team dynamic there, with him being the anchor rather than being like up in the front line with me.
To make matters worse, similar to what happens at Exit over at SkyWest Trials, Moist decided to contest OpTic at Big Mod and Stacks, a POI that they have controlled for years. And in the past, they managed to fight off some of the best teams in the world. The problem was, they have no leverage to take this fight. If they actually contest, we have no clue who wins, but OpTic is not in a LAN qualification spot, and they cannot afford bad games, where Moist is sitting top 2 in the region and basically has LAN guaranteed. So OpTic, just like XSET, gets forced out of their POI, and they end up leaving to land at Harvester, which is almost the complete opposite of their previous POI. Mod and Stacks have tons of loot, they're on the edge of the map, they have access to the mod weapons, while Harvester is the literal center of the map, lacks those same advantages, and I mean heck, this is the POI that DZ decided to leave. So in the mix of all these comp issues and they're doing terrible on Stormpoint, they're having to completely rebuild their World's Edge macro, which sucks because that was the only map they could really get points on. By the time OpTic manages to fix these problems, it's kind of too late. OpTic was nearly 20 points out of land qualification, which means not only do they need teams in front of them to do poorly, but they had to go huge, which unfortunately they did not, as they placed 8th in both their final match day and the regional finals. But what if I told you that a lot of these issues potentially had an obvious solution that OpTic had tried to implement months before any of them took place? Well, that leads us into problem number 3. OpTic did not have a coach. I'm not going to sit here and say that a coach fixes everything. Just look at our previous video with XSET. They have one of the best coaches of all time, and just like OpTic, they didn't qualify. But it certainly would have helped and maybe been the difference maker. For example, that initial Season 20 comp of Gibby Caustic Valk, well, that match day prevents OpTic from initially running the meta comp and delays their eventual realization that Skittle should be Bloodhound, not Caustic. So rather than one match day being bad, they lost 2 of them due to this comp stuff. A 4th voice with an outside perspective might have been able to fix these problems before they even reared their head in an official match day, which might have prevented 2 of their 3 worst match days from happening. But this was not for a lack of trying. OpTic actually tried to get a coach.
Yeah, I mean, we already do have a coach in mind. That's the only reason why, you know, this even happened. Because obviously Loopy was a great aspect of our team, and I liked working with him a lot.
Well, the players did. The org denied them. At Champs, OpTic had Loopy coaching them and managed to place 2nd. Following Champs, they wanted to make a change and bring on iShiny as their coach, but the org said no. I'm not sure the reasoning. Maybe it's a budget issue, or maybe as Dropped has theorized, it could be that OpTic, being historically a Call of Duty and Halo org, doesn't really value coaching.
There was definitely like a disconnect between the org and how Apex operates as like a game. After Champs, when we told OpTic that we wanted to get a coach who was shiny, it definitely seemed like they didn't understand the importance of us getting a coach, basically. From what I've heard, coaches are kind of like a meme in COD and Halo. Like, definitely I've heard like in COD and shit that coaches are pretty fucking useless. And that's kind of where I figured the disconnect happened, is like, you know, maybe they just didn't realize how important coaches are in Apex.
For whatever reason, OpTic denied the team a coach, and I truly believe in order to be one of the best teams in the game at this point in Apex, you need one. TSM have repeatedly praised Raven for being a key member of their team. When you look back at the impact he's had for them, just so many small little issues that could have stacked up, he's been able to help them overcome those things. And you have ZZ from Dark Zero, who was cited as the key reason why Zynu was able to adjust to DZ so fast and help them win a LAN. Coaches can have different strengths, and someone like iShiny, who since Apex inception has been on the pulse of the game's meta, could have easily helped OpTic adjust through these Season 20 issues. And I think that with OpTic's very mature and professional approach to the game, having a 4th voice there could have very easily solved a lot of those problems. Maybe I'm reading too much into this, but the denial of letting your team, who just finished 2nd at the game's championship event, feels like an early warning sign to the org's lack of commitment to the scene. Nobody felt it was at the time because OpTic gets put into the partner program, but apparently that wasn't even enough to keep them in Apex.
Yeah, I mean, essentially OpTic just didn't want to stay in Apex. And I mean, I like specifically asked that, like, you know, because yeah, that's what I thought too, is like the partnered, you know, team stuff. I was like, you know, that partnered EA partnered team thing wasn't enough to keep OpTic in the game, and they told me no, it wasn't enough to keep him in the game.
I don't think that OpTic leaving was at all related to the team's performance, because they showed they were just 1 game away from winning a championship, and if it was performance concerns because they missed LAN the split, you'd think the org would either move forward by giving them more resources like a coach, or you'd think they just drop this roster and pick up another one. Instead, they've left the scene, and this leaves the team in limbo. Despite all their issues, both Dropped and Skittle had seemed to indicate roster changes weren't going to be happening and that they would run it back.
I don't want to stop playing with either of my teammates, but if anyone wants to like leave the team, that's up to them. I don't think there's any plans by anyone, people getting replaced. I don't plan on looking for a replacement.
In terms of the team situation, like, I know none of us are going anywhere like right now, you know, but obviously like since we have no org, like if someone on the team gets an offer from an org, it's like, you know, none of us are gonna try and hold each other back from like taking that.
But without an org backing them up now, if a currently signed team offers any one of the three, we could see this team split up. And if they do, it'll be a real shame, because despite missing this LAN, I still have the utmost confidence that this current team, with some help from an org that enables them to be the best, could actually do it. But for now, we'll see. Maybe they run it back as free agents. Hopefully an org swoops in and keeps them together. This could be the last time we see Skittle dropped and Noct play together. And if it is, for me, they're going to go down as a huge what-if team. No team has come closer to beating TSM and Dark Zero than them. Let's hope they get another chance to prove they can. And if you enjoyed this video about why OpTic missed LAN, make sure to check out this video about XSET, another one of the top contenders to potentially dethrone the dynasties, or also fell short.